Hi everyone, it's Kylie from Payne. In today's video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to paint a macaw with watercolors. I'm going to start off by showing some of the colors I used to paint this piece. Two of the blue colors I used were Cerulean Blue and Cobalt Teal Blue. These are by the brand Daniel Smith. If you don't have every color that I'm showing, that's okay. Just use something similar. And then here's some swatches of those two colors. I'll also be using Sap Green, Cascade Green, Cadmium Yellow, Burnt Sienna, and Payne's Gray. In the description of the video, I'll have the entire list of all the materials I used. After you get a sketch drawn, let's get started painting. For this painting, we'll be starting off by painting the eye. Using a number 2 round brush, I'm going to start filling in the eye with Cascade Green paint. I'm just adding it to the top portion of the eye. And then I'm going to dip my brush into water, and I'm going to spread out that paint a little bit. And then next I'm going to dab in some yellow into the eye. I'm dabbing the yellow in while things are still wet. Then next let's add a very light wash of blue to the face of the macaw. Add quite a bit of water to your cerulean blue paint to get it light. And now while that dries, let's add some cobalt teal to the back of the macaw's head. I'm using a larger round brush to add this paint. This here is a number 10. I'm just adding some feather-like marks on the back of its head. And then while things are still wet, I'm going to add some green paint into the wash. And then over here I'm going to add some cerulean blue. I'm just going to allow the colors mix right into the wash. And then next I'm going to add some sap green. And I'm going to add a little more sap green. And to the front of the head we're going to add sap green as well. And we're going to have that color transition to the other wash. To blend the two colors together, I'm adding some water. To the front of the macaw's head, I'm adding some darker green. This is my Cascade Green, but use whatever you have on hand. I'm creating thin lines for some feathers. And then while the wash is still wet, I'm going to add some more blue. And now we're going to continue on with that wash. I'm adding Cadmium Yellow, and then I'm going to add some more teal. I'm keeping my paint pretty saturated. We want this painting to be very vibrant and bright. And then I'm going to add some burnt sienna over here. And then I mix the burnt sienna with a little bit of yellow so it creates more of an orange color. In order to darken the color in the front of the head, I'm going to add some more Cascade Green to the wash. I'm going to have the portrait abstract a little bit. I'm going to take a large round brush, use either number 10 or number 12. I'm going to add some yellow lines down here. I'm just dragging my brush downwards. I'm leaving some white space to kind of give that abstract, impressionistic look. And then I'm going to dip my brush into burnt sienna, and I'm going to add that to the wash. And then for some drips, I'm going to angle my paper and allow the drips to form. You need to make sure you're using a lot of water and pigment for the drips to form. Your macaw doesn't need to look just like mine. Just loosen up a little bit and play around with the pigment. A little bit more teal. And then I'm going to start drying the wash. I'm using a blow dryer to help dry it faster. My wash isn't completely dry, and while it's not completely dry, I'm going to add a little bit more burnt sienna to it. And then over here is where the wing is. I'm leaving a little white space between the wing and the orange wash. And I'm going to start by adding some teal, and then I'm going to add some cerulean paint. I'm just creating some feather marks with my brush. And then after things dry, let's go work on the eye of the macaw. Dip a small round brush into Payne's gray paint and outline the eye. Also fill in the pupil with the Cerulean gray paint as well. Make sure to leave a white dot in the center of the eye. And then using a slightly larger round brush, such as a number 8, start painting in the beak of the macaw. I'm adding this wet paint to dry paper. Here I'm switching to a smaller round brush to fill in the tighter areas. And then there's also some black feathers over here. I'm just going to trace around my pencil marks. I'm creating a jagged line for this feather over here. Then to fill in the rest of the shape, I'm moving up to a number 8 round brush. And I'm adding this wash while the one below it is dry. To blend the two colors together, I'm going to get a brush wet and just blend things out a little bit. And then I'm going to dab in some yellow paint. I'm just sort of mixing it with the dry wash behind it. And then a few dabs of burnt sienna. Next, I'm going to add some saturated green paint right above the eye. I'm using a small round brush to create thin lines. And then blend this out into the other layer behind it. And some more Cascade Green. To blend out the color, dip your brush into water and move it back and forth. You can also move your brush in a circular motion to blend the colors together. Next, now that the beak is dry, let's add some details on top of it. Using a wet on dry technique, dip a small round brush into a Cerulean gray paint and start outlining the outer edges. I'm going to increase the value of the beak by adding another layer of gray paint. Next, add more details around the eye. Again, I'm using a wet on dry technique and a small round brush with Payne's gray paint. Along the macaw's face, there's little black feathers. So use a small round brush and a Cerulean gray paint and start adding little tick marks. A little more details over here. Then I still want to increase the value on the beak, so add a little bit more gray. Sometimes it takes a few layers to really build up the value. And now I'm going to mix together my cerulean paint with some gray. I'm going to create some marks that represent the feathers. This will give sort of a graphic look to the piece. Along the edge of the wing, I'm adding a shadow using burnt sienna paint. I'm going to blend that out a little with water. And I'm going to add more pigment to the wash. And then I think this piece is complete. Thank you so much for watching as I paint this macaw. If you have any suggestions for future tutorials, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye now.